Well, my dear Boolaws and Bears, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a lovely Tuesday morning over here from, once again, a very dark, a very dreary Helsinki, Finland, raining all night, and that is beautiful for myself because I don't know, for whatever reason, it feels like the focus is in mind right now. So with that said, I would like to wish you the best, and the happiest if this is just a regular Tuesday for you, which I think it is for all of us out there. Who knows what holiday it is, but happy holiday season as well. And let's get into it right now on the Krown Chain application, which we found at app.krownchain.net, and it is 100% free, so take advantage of it. It's right there for you, or don't. It's all good as well. First off, what do we see? We do see that we have a summer sale going on in winter. Doesn't matter. We're in Australia. No. Just a little bit of a misnomer right there. I'll get onto that topic at the end of this video. However, I do want to make sure that people who are interested in such things are aware of such things as well. Anyways, putting the focus now on the Bitcoin dominance, we do see it hovering around that 69.5% region, of which you haven't really seen a whole hell of a lot of differential between yesterday and today as well. So a little bit of ranging Bitcoin price action is going to allow potentially for a bit of an altcoin rally here. So we do want to actually check back in on that on some of the more interesting charts, especially Ethereum after it kind of taking the lead yesterday, of which that would suggest that we are in a bit of a rotational market, which would be pretty much confirming what we've been looking at for the last like 4 or 5 months now. Looking at the open interest, what do we see? Heading up another 100 million from yesterday to today as we head back up around 4.4 billion with a B, and that does suggest that Bitcoin is going through a little bit of a consolidation range right here, but we don't really have anything to say about it other than that we need to let more time transpire essentially, as Bitcoin and the open just haven't really established a clear and critical range from what we've looked at since hitting around $28,000. And looking at the fear and greed index, also coming down 1 point from a 92 to a 91, so you know that it's fucking doomsday right now. No, we're extremely greedy, and we have been extremely greedy for almost 2 months now, I think it is. If we go over here to the data tab, let's see exactly what that looks like. And yes indeed, going all the way back to early November, so that November and then almost all of December, yeah, we've been about 2 months of pretty much extreme greed. Of course, can stay there for a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, this is a bit of an outlier situation here. We have not really seen it stay up this high for this long, but that is not an actionable signal in and of itself. Obviously, if you've just been shorting the fear and greed index, well, you've been wrecked for the last 3-4 months actually. And more importantly, that needs to be combined with other pieces of price action information, preferably like actual price action, but other market dynamics as well would be helpful. In this case right here, we don't really have that sort of setup going on right now. We do see that the funny rate is doing what? We do see a massive middle finger right here with FTX at 0.16%, so people playing quite a fair bit for long positions right there, but all other exchanges are 0.05% or lower actually, with actually even a couple of them, Bybit and BitMEX, at 0.01%. So is that anything too crazy to be aware of as it is right now? No, not really. Still want to see multiple exchanges above that threshold for a day or two, maybe even 3, and then I'd be looking for potentially a major local high to be put in, but we still don't really have that as it stands right now, and FTX being an outlier right there is just that, an outlier in the way that I look at it. So with that said, we're going to go into the secondary charts to start it off today. As we spoke about yesterday, this was the most important thing happening the soonest, if that makes sense. Basically, this was the most important thing to be aware of yesterday, and following up on it, yes indeed, we did close the 3-day above the topside Kroner band once again. We did test back down into the topside Kroner band, looks like today, so I would be having a little bit of a bias as this short-term downside likely does get bought back on up, and we do try again back up towards or above $27,000. So we'll go into the lower term time frames, kind of pinpoint an area of interest for that area. However, as it stands right now, I mean, just looking at this, yes, I would be essentially still having a bullish bias based off the 3-day, based off the weekly, based off the 2-day, all of which did close above the topside Kroner band on the last relevant closures. The 3-day being the soonest that we saw yesterday, weekly obviously the day before, and 2-day the same thing the day before as well. So here's a weekly right now. We are going to test the topside Kroner band. It looks like somewhere around, yeah, just below $26,000 actually, 25,700. So I would mark that area off just presently speaking, because when we go into the lower term time frames, I want to see if there's any confluential factors around that region suggesting that we do have a little bit of a bouncy bounce territory or potential around there. Anyways, back onto the 2-day as well. This one's obviously going to be the next highest term time frame, closing the soonest. It's going to be closing again tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And if we do see the same thing essentially with it closing above the topside Kroner band, which is currently 26,250, I would be looking for further continuation on this run. Now, of course, seeing as the 3-day already kind of did it yesterday, I do think it's more or less of a formality. 3 days obviously going to take more precedence than a 2-day, but in this case right here, just kind of following all of the higher term time frames through, the lower time frame that we go in that order, the more and more immediately the more and more immediately bullish, I do start to look. So with that in mind, let's go down into the lower term timeframes right now, with which Bitcoin's actually playing out a bit of a pullback here. I do believe yesterday we did say on the morning video that Bitcoin likely to come back down to the $26,200 or $300 level. Looks like we actually, obviously we hit that target, but now actually exceeding it quite a fair bit. And remember that on the weekly, topside trolleys are 25.7, we'll call it 25.7. So I do want to mark that area off, and let's see if anything else lines up with it. 25.7 would be right here, actually right at the low side wick of this I would call this consolidation, but I mean, realistically, this is very, 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 very immature right here. So it's kind of like judging it a little bit too early in its little dildo life. But if we go back onto our charts over here, I believe I already have that area marked off, and that also is going to be the 3-spot extension that we did see coming out of the prior base from the breakout of $20,000. So all of this stuff does matter when combined with each other. I'm curious if we have any sort of like daily or 12-hour major moving numbers coming around there. Yes, indeed, we do. We do see the 10 simple on the 12-hour right around the 3-spot extension here. So, if I did have to call it right now, Bitcoin probably does come down a little bit lower. So I would extend yesterday's short-term downside target, basically another 400, 500 bucks. Down to this level right here, and I would be looking for a bounce off this level as well. Now, if Bitcoin actually does break this area right here, and I would probably use a 4-hour for this purpose, again below 25,700, then yes, I would look for the same trade that we spoke about yesterday and the day before, looking for another $2,000 move to the downside, down to the 2-spot 414 extension at 23,900-ish region. Yes, 24,500 probably does provide a short-term bounce, but I would not be looking for a reversal there. This is the next point that I'd potentially be looking at a reversal for. That's going to be your algo target if this area does break. So with that in mind, very, very likely it does produce a nice bounce there, potentially even reversal. But for right now, if I just had to kind of like, curtail my thoughts up, I'd say short term, a little bit more downside, but I would be looking for this area to hold based off the weekly structure, based off the 3-day that just closed last night. And I would want to see this lined up and continuation implied from the 2-day if it does close above the top side Toronto band. Again, today, all of these things working together, obviously, that would provide a bit of an opportunity right here. But this area must hold. If this area, I fucking hate it when people say like, this must do that. No, it doesn't need to do anything. It's just if it does this, then it implies that. That's actually the right terminology and the right way to be thinking with this. And as it stands right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we do have another wick down around here, but I don't want to see any closures below here. Otherwise, that will again change the short-term and medium-term biases here for another about $2,000, more than $2,000 move to the downside. So as long as that condition is not met, I still look at this as more or less healthy, more or less fine, even though the short-term timeframes are hinting at a little bit more downside here. But remember, it's all within the context of the short-term timeframe range, which admittedly is fucking massive, as we are dealing with big numbers. I mean, it's all the way from 25,750 to 27,650 up here. I mean, that's that's quite something. That's $2,000 range on a short-term time frame. This is fucking crazy, but again, if you're thinking about it percentage-wise, it's really not out of the ordinary for Bitcoin all that much. I mean, it's 7.25% range right there, to be fair. Still on the bigger side, obviously, but this is not out of the question or not out of the ordinary for Bitcoin specifically, that is. So as it stands right now, I'd still have the same upside resolution point here at 27,650. Or if you do want to be a little more aggressive, and of course, this is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor. If we did see another move above, I think this is yesterday's high. This would be 27,495. Let's see what a daily agrees with. Yep, 27,495. So if we do see any sort of a print above yesterday's high, I would be looking also for an upside resolution. And realistically, the next targeted region is I mean, yes, people are going to call out the 4-spot right here at 28,800. I highly doubt that works out, though. I can't even recall a scenario where that actually works out. The 4-spot 236, however, this one typically does work out. That will be your next algo target to the upside, and that's right under $30,000. So nice round psychological even number as well. And all these things, typically do coincide with each other. So So that's where I'd be looking if the upside resolution is had. But for right now, it looks to me like, short term, a little bit of downside. We're kind of seeing it play out right now. And medium term side within this consolidation area right here. And then, maybe if we set up for a breakout a little bit later this week or a breakdown in this case, I would still have a bullish bias again, as long as the 3-day and weekly conditions are met, which as we looked at over here, still looking, more or less fine. Definitely has, some short-term downside. Yes, absolutely. But I would be looking for to try and at least attempt to bounce back up toward 27,000 bucks, probably over the next few days, at the very least. Looking at the daily right here, we could very easily get a wick all the way down to 25,000 bucks. That would just be the 9 exponential moving average. I mean, that is, I mean, technically speaking, this is a very strong read as far as moving averages go. However, you can see that we can really, we can really falter another $1,000 here, and it wouldn't even, I mean, it would just be testing the 9 exponential moving average on the daily, which is like your most aggressive trending metric as far as I look at things. So, things are very frothy here, yes. And I do think that Bitcoin probably is due for a major downside move, somewhat soonish, but based off of the trolling bands, I still do remain somewhat, or at least I still remain a little bit bullish here, at least biased towards an upside resolution until we do see something different happen. Again, that doesn't mean that I'm destined to be right. No, of course not. And we've seen this a million times where I'm just completely fucking wrong. But there always comes about with a contingency, and that's why we talk about both of the resolution points here and how that changes biases. So I hope that that's clear, and especially for the people who really put a lot of effort into making this work and listening to these videos. I want to make I want to do it for those kind of people, for the people who just leave comments who are like just clearly just, well, we don't even need to get into that, but just a waste of fucking time. That's probably not helping anyone. Anyways, let's go through the lower term time frames right now and see what we got going on. We do see 4-hour Stokes actually nosediving, so we were unable to meet that criteria yesterday of crossing back above, I think it was like 27.5 intraday, and fulfilling this trend line test right here. I guess actually we would be testing it right now. So fair enough. If you are looking at this as a regression, this would be defending against the edge of the bearish control zone. However, it's certainly not looking like it wants to be picked up right here. You typically don't see it nosedive into a full-on reversal from that. And if you do, it's usually not going to work out. So in this case right here, yes, it is hitting that trend line, but that coupled up with the fact that 4-hour RSIs we identified yesterday was a little bit of short-term downside. I would be looking for this one to, again, stab a little bit lower here. We're just below 26,000 bucks now. I want to again we did mark off 25,700, 25,750. So let's keep an eye on that as this video progresses, because it does look like we're going to be testing down around there. And I'll be looking for a 4-hour RSI again. Long term, very good, very fucking good here. But short term, a little bit more down, and then side move in this region would be healthy for the long term, of course. Looking at 4-hour historical volatility percentile, we are going into potentially a phase shift right here, as it was expanding all the way up until yesterday. Now a little bit of flatline, so we actually could see a bit of a change of behavior here if that does get a negative slope plus a break of the range, in this case to the downside. If we move over here to the 3-hour, what do we see? Basically the same sort of thing going on as 3-hour Stokes do nosedive a bit. They will be staying to the downside as long as below 26,750. So looking quite likely on this next closure, by the way, in 33 minutes. And in short term, this one actually looks like it wants to, I mean, there's really not much holding it up right here. A little bit scary. Also 3-hour Joule sell signal, not a super powerful one, certainly not super perfect, but we do see negative slopes on all of the moving parts here. So that, that could very easily bring things down to, 25,300, which we can get wicks lower. Again, it's on closures that I'm looking at that 750 level or 25,750 level. So actually we might even be able to see this together on this video, which would be pretty damn cool. Looking at 3-hour RSI, same thing on the 4-hour, it's back into the neutral zone. Short term, yes, down. However, long term, this is a constructive read for sure. Looking at historical volatility percentile, do we see anything different than what we saw in the 4-hour? No, this one's actually still expanding, in fact. So I would still put I want to see the other time frames actually before I say anything more aggressive on that. Bi-hourly Stokes, rejecting the bullish control zone, back down, not good. Bi-hourly RSI, same thing as what we saw on the other term, on the other time frames. It looks like it wants to test around the edge of the bullet, or the edge of the bearish control zone, that is, and then probably try a little bit of a bouncy bounce there. Testing the 55 exponential average on the bi-hourly right here as well. So there is a few things within its way, but this is a bit concerning right here as well. So the 2 and 3-hour both lining up. I'm curious if this is mirrored on CMEs. No, but it is. That could actually, the 3-hour could actually set up for a really, really good sell signal. The 4-hour actually could as well, but I want to see these all get negative slopes. If that happens, then yeah, I would be looking for. I might even be looking for a gap fill if that happens all the way down to $24,000. So that would be your downside resolution, implying the next $2,000 move, more than $2,000 move to the downside. And looking at 4-hour CMEs, by the way, while we're here, this is certainly short-term bearish. Yes, looking at 4-hour HVP, flatlining a little bit after hitting the red zone. In the context of this price action, that would imply a little bit of downside here as well, as oh, nice little red dildo right there. As the 4-hour jewel is concerning here, but not a signal in and of itself just yet. Needs to see all these curl down, and then yes, I would be looking for the next $2,000 move to the downside if that happens. If. Okay, back onto it over here. So we went through the 2-hour. Do we need to go through the hourly? Yes, we do. Hourly Stokes still down as well. So all time frames, all lower term time frames are on the same side. Hourly RSI even into the bearish control zone for the first time since 21st of December. But that's not super. That's not super damning for it. We do have a trend line, if you can visualize, coming in from this low, and would be kind of testing around where our current lows are right now. It does look like things are getting picked up for the short term as it stands right here. But still, focus on that 25,750 range. Looks like we didn't quite test it on this one. Let me just see. Close enough is close enough, but again, it's not. I don't even care if we get a wick down below here. It's closures. Closures are what matter to me to destroy structure. Anyways, historical volatility percentile on the hourly looks like it even could go into an expansion phase, potentially still contracting here. And hourly jewel is continuation halter or short actually. Although I would be looking for a bounce off this fib right here. So fair enough. Now let's go through the medium-term timeframes to see what we're looking at over here, as all of the short-term timeframes are pretty much on the same side. What do we see on the 12-hour? We do see 12-hour Stokes nosediving a little bit below the critical zone. Not a death sentence in and of itself, but it will remain to the downside as long as we are closing this next 12-hour dildo below 27,960. So that is a little bit unlikely, about $2,000 from where we currently are right now. And 12-hour RSI is doing what? Short term, a little bit of downside, yes, but I would be, if blue laws are going to pick it up from where we are right now, I'd be looking for it to get picked up off of the edge of the bullish control zone. If this level is lost on the next 12-hour closure, as I fucking stumble before my words, sorry about that. I know it's annoying, it's fucking embarrassing for myself, but I would be looking for a much deeper drive down actually into the neutral zone, which would imply price action probably does come down the next $2,000 drop. However, for right now, as we looked at the beginning of this video, the 10 simple on the 12-hour pretty much meeting up with price action as it currently is. We pretty much got down there, 25,887. Let's see what the exchanges did as well. Actually GDAX getting another 50 to 60 bucks below that price point. So I do like that as essentially testing that lower bound as it is right now. I'll still be on the on the lookout for closures below there, but as it stands right now, probably does bounce off this level, and well, as long as that holds, I suppose I do remain with my bullish bias and looking for a bounce off that level. Anyways, 12-hour, what else do we want to say around here? I think we got everything that we wanted to say. What about 12-hour jewel? Ooh, this one, if they start to curl down as well, that would be very, 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 very nasty. So I do think that we're getting very close here to the next major high. The question to me is, does the next major high basically come from where we're at right now? Or do we, or does Bitcoin go up another 3,000 or so bucks to 30,000 psychological level and then play out one of those major pullbacks? I do believe that we are going to see a pretty nasty pullback, probably early January, if I had to guess. That is traditionally how it happens in traditional markets, which Bitcoin obviously strongly correlated with Nasdaq, and just the greater markets as a whole, likely does play along with that. And usually what happens, Jesus Christ, man, I'm losing my voice right now. Usually what happens is not on the 1st of January, because you usually don't trade on that day, but the 2nd of January, the real market begins. And when that happens, you usually see like the actual direction. So in this case right here, I wouldn't be surprised if we just kind of float up for the rest of December into early January and then play out one of those nastier pullbacks, which again, macro would not make me bearish. There's nothing bearish about the monthly, the bi-monthly, the quarterly, as we looked at yesterday. And I'll once again refer to the video on Sunday in the long-term analysis playlist for that analysis, as I don't want to go over it in this video because it's going to be too long already. But what I would say about that is that it likely produces the next big long-term opportunity. So whether things come down, to 23,000 or 22,000 bucks, or all the way down here, I mean, personally speaking, I would love to see a move down to like 18 or 19,000 and pick that up. However, the market doesn't do exactly what I want it to do, and we'll look at it in real time. But for right now, we still have a few more days left in the ripe old month of December. Looking at my calendar over here, we got 1, 2, 3 trading days left, including today, and then the first on Friday of this week. So keep an eye on that. But macro would still be very much bullish. But we can play at a sideways and down move for a month or two in early 2021 that essentially just gets reaccumulated, because I mean, as it is right now, we've really seen about we've essentially seen about a 100% move, or more than a 100% move, all the way from about 10,000 bucks, or sorry, 12,000 bucks to where we're at right now. 137% move to be exact, without any real pullback. I mean, the only like somewhat pullback and sideways move was here right below 20,000 bucks, but that doesn't even register on a fucking weekly, So what I want to see is another base being put in over time. That's where I'll probably enter into another long-term position. We had a really good discussion about this last night in the Discord. I was talking with Falcone, good guy, really like him. He's a young guy, he's a young Chicago guy, and he's quite beautiful too. No, I don't know for sure, but I'm sure he's good. Anyways, more importantly, we were talking about having patience within this next segment of the market, and kind of what that entails. And it's like, when you're looking at something making new all-time highs and just fucking screaming past your prior all-time high by a strong like 50% pretty much, as you can see right here on this consolidation, it's very difficult to kind of sit tight. But what I would strongly suggest here is that have your level set out over the next few months here, and know exactly what you're going to be looking for in order to denote a strong based entry if you are looking for one of those long positions, like I will be doing myself, as that's basically my game right now. I'm pretty much a hodler who will play long-term moves in this macro environment, because, well, when things are in blue sky breakout mode, I don't really see any real reason to trade on the lower term timeframes. Yes, there's still a lot of opportunity there, yes, of course, and I will still trade on the lower term timeframes, to be fair, but I mean, it's really hard to ignore that this is a fucking $2,000 4-hour range. But at the end of the day, my priority is with the more long-term right here, because this is something that you see a few times a decade, and it's for me at least, I'd rather make things easier than difficult, and in this case right here, might as well appreciate the upside on this market long term. So, for myself, if I'm sharing exactly what I'm doing, anywhere around the weekly 10 simple is literally still below 20,000 bucks. Anywhere around the weekly 21 exponential average is obviously going to be good for me. Just because it offers up a nice edge doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to work out. But what I would say to you right now is document those areas out so that you don't FOMO into this bullshit. Bitcoin, probably does try another upside move from here. Yeah, it still looks overall good. But if Bitcoin were to say, let's say that if you knew that Bitcoin was going to go to, and I'm just throwing out numbers here, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but just as a thought exercise, let's say that you knew Bitcoin was going to go to 35,000 bucks. First, and then come all the way down to $20,000. Would you want to buy now, or would you want to wait till 20,000 bucks? Again, assuming that you actually have perfect knowledge, which is obviously impossible, but would you do that? Probably yes. Or maybe you're going to be a smart ass and say, no, I'd buy right here, then sell 35,000, then buy 20,000. It's like, okay, yes, you're a perfect trader, and nothing could be more better. Possible, yes, of course, but you already missed the easy part of that move, is my point. The easy part of that move was breaking the $20,000 level right here. So what's the best thing to do next, at least for myself? If I was in a position, if I was in a similar position like that, I'd mark off the areas that I'd be interested in accumulating myself for a long-term trade, potentially, of which 21 on the weekly is going to be an obvious area, which is rapidly rising up about 500 bucks each and every week, and currently sitting at around just below 17,000 bucks. So that'll soon be around 20,000 bucks anyways. And just kind of document a trade off that have both your entry, exit, and risk management all set out well in advance, because it's not going to be any surprises here. You can look at the past prior action. You can see where you want to get in if, based off of your own technical analysis, and reference the trade checklist video that I released on this channel. It will walk you through all the different moving parts that you need to fill out at the bare fucking minimum in order to have a working plan. Now, of course, it is bare minimum, but as I said in that video, if you ain't even doing the fucking bare minimum, why would you expect success in a very competitive skill? I mean, more importantly, it just blows my mind that people won't even do the bare fucking minimum when you are potentially cultivating the skill that you could be using to generate a livelihood for the rest of your life, really. So like, take it seriously, if you're going to be in this game. Of course, I understand that, not everyone in this community is interested in, in living that lifestyle. Completely fine. Completely understand that. But hey, just as an aside, if you are that type of person, understand that the more that is what you have in control of. You can't control the outcome of whether your analysis plays out or not. Or whether your indicator plays out or not. It's always going to be a statistic. So all you can control is finding the right setups that give you that advantage that you are looking for, that you can trade, and then just repeating that over time. That's all that you have. That's all that you're in control of. You're not in control of what price action actually does. I mean, it's more or less random, and so you kind of have to go with that assumption, and then use your tools that give you some sort of a it doesn't even matter if it's like a small edge, just as long as you have some sort of edge mediated by risk management and then position management. That's where you can actually make the statistics work for you. So that's what I postulate to you right there. And now I'm fucking preaching, so I apologize about that. But let's see what the daily looks like right here before this video gets too long. And what do we see? Daily Stokes coming down, not good. As long as we're below 27,500, they will certainly cross to the downside officially. And daily RSI is potentially putting another drive of bearish divergence right there, actually, if we do confirm a local high right here. But again, how would a local high be confirmed? Closure below 25,750, and then yes, driving targets down towards basically right below 24,000 bucks, and 20-month exponential moving average is 23,150. So those, this whole range right here likely does get tested if that does get confirmed. But for right now, I still, as long as the conditions are met, as we spoke about earlier, I do favor the upside. Although would I be just blindly buying these levels? Probably not. No. Looking at 2-day, what do we see right here? 2-day Stokes looking like they're going to cross the downside as well. Remember, this one does confirm tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so that will be in the narrative. And we do see that by daily RSI. What do we see right here? Potential bearish divergence if this does confirm a local high, but as it is right now, this is not a local high. This is continuation as by definition. All right, let's go check out the world market. So this is also what kind of makes me a little bit more on the Bula-ish inspired side, and that is looking at Nasdaq right here, of which making new all-time highs, as we said, was likely coming into this week, and especially taking out last week's high. I'd be looking for this one to melt up a little bit more. We do have, of course, our target still further north at the 3-spot extension, also based off this pattern right here at 13,150. Which, if it's going to gun for that target right there, do I think that is it likely that Bitcoin's going to follow as well? Looking at the correlation between just about everything in this world, yes, probably, very, very likely. So if I did have to call it right now, I do think that on the whole, Bitcoin has one more move to the upside. However, we're getting really fucking close here. I think we're getting very, very close to the next major pivot point. Still, macro would be bullish, obviously. I mean, it remains bullish as basically as long as we're above like what 14 or 15,000, I think it is. So, more than a $10,000 move from where we are right now. Kind of fucking crazy, to be fair. But likely does set up for the next long-term opportunity, if I had to guess. Same thing with SPY over here as well, making new all-time highs, and this one pointed up towards about 3850-ish region based off of this pattern, and also based off the extensions right here, actually cutting these two to the middle. Of which, if I had to call it right now, yep, I do think that it gets hit. Obviously, this next fib right here at 3750 likely does produce a little bit of a short-term pullback, but ultimately, I don't really see anything in the way of these upper targets over there. Let's go check out MicroStrategy as well. Remember, this one was probably breaking out yesterday. Yes, indeed, it was. And we said that MicroStrategy was getting reaccumulated last week, and well, got reaccumulated, and there you go. And that's typically what happens on reaccumulation. And now, what's more important about this is that we actually are living above this past critical area, which did produce the massive dump off in August 2000. So this is a whole different market dynamic right here. living below this level. And once again, for the first time in over 20 years now, it is actually living back above. And MicroStrategy, if you're, if you're wondering the relevancy of this, it is essentially, it's not really a Bitcoin ETF, but it kind of is a Bitcoin ETF right now because they own a shit ton of Bitcoins. Michael Saylor, a little bit of an interesting fellow there, but to be fair, he has certainly been rewarded thus far. And this kind of represents, or is a good way to be looking at the traditional markets, thoughts on Bitcoin as it stands. I don't think that GBTC does as good of a job. And hello, Sleeping Beauty. Good morning. Good fucking morning, huh? We were up very late last night watching Jeffrey Epstein documentary. It's very good, actually. Very good. Very fucking disturbing as well. anyways, what else do I want to say right here? Yeah, this one very interesting alongside Nasdaq, alongside the tech sector, which we can look at XLK. All of these are looking, like breakouts to the upside. By the way, tech sector, clear breakout as well, and I'd be looking towards 137 3/4. So everything up, and that does likely bode well for Bitcoin on the whole. Of course, we go look at here at the dollar index, kind of hanging on to the lows as it stands right now. Obviously, trading against that, going to help out its case as well. So, I do hold my reservations on the short-term timeframes for Bitcoin, and when things switch around, it's going to be fucking fast. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see another melt here. Okay, let's go check out some shitty coins, baby. Some shitty coins for a shitty walk. And what do we see on Daily Link? We see Daily drooping back down again. Jesus Christ, man. This one just cannot catch a break right here. I really want to see this one pull through. But if I did call it, I do think that it gets picked up here, and it does try another move towards $14.5. I do like, I technically do favor it as long as it's above the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average on the daily, which so far all those wicks have been bought back on up. Weekly is a bit in limbo here as well. If things do turn down below the 21, it will be very nasty. Targeting moves back down towards like $7.5, but for right now, I guess I kind of just look at it as likely to go around with the general market. Link BTC absolutely shreked. This one probably does gun down again for last week's low. Maybe a short-term pullback, however, to $54,000. But ultimately, this one looking very, 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 very nasty. I mean, just simply playing the death cross on the daily right here, which was a very good one with historical volatility percentile this low plus major move. Now just doing this. I mean, that's a really good setup for a downside move. So again, a bit of hindsight trading right there, but we did identify this one in real time, and I just want to follow up for people, later on as you can see these things as they go onwards and forwards. And I mean, for a lot of people who thought that they were late to the trade right here, I mean, that's a 50% move. So I would argue not so. I would argue not so. Let's go check out Mr. Beaterall. Where are you, sir? Where are you? I found you. $700. Did make new highs on this run on Mr. Beaterall yesterday. I'm actually looking at this as just a backfill right now. I'd actually be looking for it to bounce off this level, $700. Just looking at the daily. Yeah, looking at the 4 hours as well. I'd be looking for it to bounce back up towards about 725 to 730-ish region short term. Looking at the weekly. I still like it. I would like to see, did we actually get into this open right here? Close 790. How did we get up yesterday? 760. I still do think it guns for $800 here on the weekly over the next few weeks. Yeah, and then I'd be looking for a greater pullback off of the $800 level, but we're pretty fucking close. Could you argue that we've already seen that and you should be looking for the pullback now? You could make that argument, but I do think based off the lower term time frames, probably gives one more try up there and then pullback time. Let's see. What about Mrs. Litecoin? She's very mature. She's very lovely. And where the fuck is she right now? Hey, Litecoin. Get the fuck back on my charts. There you are. I found you. 125. Same thing here. Short term probably does trade back down towards 120, 117 region. Pretty close to that already, but well, I mean, it already did kind of test in this region, 137, 140-ish region. Let's see what the lower term timeframes look like. Short term timeframes probably downside, maybe, yeah, back down to like 120, and then I'd be looking for a bounce there. Short term timeframes do look a little bit more downside imposed, yes. Yeah, daily showing the 119, 120-ish level as well. So a lot of things coming around there. So it is kind of shaping up with a lot of things threatening a little bit of short-term downside, and then bouncy bounces. And then I basically want to see it back on the 4x video a little bit later. But this one also does have potential bearish divergence on the daily RSI here on Litecoin, which if confirmed with any sort of a closure, basically here or lower, I would actually target a move down to 108.5, 109. So be on the defensive for that as well. Now that still would be higher highs and higher lows, so it would still be within the concept of an uptrend. So I would be looking for a bigger bounce there, but but that is a move right there. I mean, from our current price action, that would be about a 15.5% move. Definitely very tradable. Anyways, let's see, what does Caretaker have to say about all of this? 3-day still upside imposed here. Yes, would show the top side of the range 28.6. Interesting, that was the 4-spot extension I believe that we looked at earlier on Bitcoin. What about on the daily right here? Showing 29,500 to the upside as as an area of interest. So if Bitcoin does break to the upside here in the short-term time frames, 29,500 to 30,000 would be the areas of interest as far as daily is concerned. What about an hourly though? Let's see what it says right here. Okay, yeah, getting the range incredibly well, actually. 27, yeah, here we go, perfect. Okay, so if you have access to this, by the way, which I put up a video for it last week. So if you have access to this, by the way, the hourly seems to get the ranges on the short-term timeframes really fucking well. In this case right here, it's suggesting a bear zone consolidation and support at 25,750. If you recall earlier, that was our bottom side area. And to the upside, we have basically 27,800. So that'd be right around here, I believe it is. So that'd actually be closing on new highs, looking good. And yes, that would essentially constitute resolution on this range for myself as well. Anyways, do we want to start to wrap this bitch up? We're 35 minutes into this shit. And I think so. All right, let's go back on over here. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, we need to go back on over here. And okay, yeah, let's take all this off. All right, let's wrap this bitch up. Bitcoin on the 3-day did close above the top side 200 band once again yesterday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, of which that will put in the bias for the next few days. That I would still be looking for upside continuation here. I would be looking for a bounce off this 25,750 level that we just tested in during this video about, and same thing on the weekly as well. Obviously, following up on this, testing the top side 200 band as we spoke about coming into this week was likely the next short-term opportunity. So I would be looking for a bounce here, probably back up to 27,000 bucks even. However, things could very easily turn around. And what would I be looking for if that were to happen? Well, of course, on the short-term timeframes over here on our BitMexican chart, that would be identified by the same criteria that we laid out for the last couple of days, with any sort of a 4-hour delta closure below 25,750, the 3-spot extension on this current range for the short term. You'll notice that did line up with what we looked at on the Krown bands just a second ago. So with that in mind, as long as this area does hold, I still do look at this as more or less a healthiest consolidation, although there are several warning signals starting to come about within this, but still, I want to see an actual break here before I change around my short-term and medium-term biases. If that area does break, which it is not just yet, of course, and according to the 3-day, I would say I would not really be looking for it right here just yet. I would be looking for another almost $2,000 move to the downside to the 2-spot 414 Fibonacci extension right here, with the bounce implied right here at about 24.5. However, ultimately, I would be looking for 23.9 to get hit at the very least, and maybe if things get really, really crazy, then all the way down another 500 bucks towards 23.5. However, as it stands right now, as long as this condition is met, I do remain more or less bullishly biased, I guess, even though it feels a little bit, again, like a guilty pleasure. And still the same upside resolutions as we spoke about yesterday and the day before, and a couple days before that, implied above 27,600 right here. Any sort of, 650, any sort of a 4-hour delta closure above there, maybe even a 2-hour gets it as well. Let's see what it looks like. 2-hour I want to see above 27.8, so I'll just focus on the 4-hour right here. Then I would be looking for an extension all the way up to 29,550. Basically read that as 30,000 bucks in line with the 4-spot 236 Fibonacci extension. I believe that also is our daily target based off of Caretaker's STD, which yes would show 29,600, we'll call it right here, for that first initial area. More importantly, we do see on Caretaker's STD that the hourly getting the current range incredibly well, suggesting that 25.8 area as a nice base and 27,750 to the upside as a nice resolution point right there. So I do like the confluence, do stick with those as the relevant areas. And I do have an overall bullish bias, again, based off the 3-day and the weekly Trollinger bands. Obviously, the 2-day is going to be the next highest term time frame closing the soonest. So that's going to be tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If that closes above the top side Trollinger band, which is currently 26,300, which is actually basically $50 below as it is right now, then I'd be looking for this one to, again, give another try to the upside. Yes, things are frothy. Yes, things look very extended. Yes, things are really crazy right now, but I wouldn't put it past it to try one more move to the upside and then another major pullback, maybe coming into early January as you typically do see in traditional markets. So with all of that said, I would like to wish you the best. Oh, and also, forgot to talk about this. That's right. We got the sale going on for another little bit less than 5 days, 20% off of all of the programs. No code is needed, of course. The TA program and the options program right here. These ones are very, very intensive programs. Make sure that they're applicable to you before getting into them. Please, 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 please. And I say this with a straight fucking face. I don't want people thinking like this is facetious in any way. Take advantage of the free content first. Make sure that this is actually for you. So the videos will obviously, go into detail on that, but obviously on this channel as well, I have plenty of free content that I've actually been uploading, more and more recently as well in the TA 101 playlist and also the trading and technical analysis playlist as well. And you might find that useful, and perhaps that's just all you need and that's all that you're interested in. Or perhaps you find that that's just not for you to begin with. So, that would be a good way to maybe, maybe figure out if it's relevant to you or not. So for me, it's always more important to make sure that it's a good fit. And how do you make sure that's a good fit? Well, watch these videos and decide for yourself, because you are an adult at the end of the day. Now, the Neophytes Initiation to Trading and Technical Analysis over here, this is a much more streamlined and basic program. This would be a better start for someone who's on the edge but does want to dip their toesy woesies in, and it will grant you a discount that would essentially equate to the full price of the TA program if you were to decide to get into that later. So there's no harm, no foul. Same thing with the options program as well, but options is like even less applicable to most people, as that's much more steeper learning curve. For me, options are the end all be all of trading, because that's where I essentially got my start. But I understand for most people, it's just most people don't want to go through that hazing process. Then we also have PineScript Mastery over here. This is from Mr. Mournfall himself, the creator of the Jewel and also this app, who will teach you how to code indicators in PineScript. And if we go over here to the partners tab, we got Caretakers STD. It's a great one. We were just referencing it earlier. Really like that one for short-term scalping. We got Caretakers RSI. This one I've shown it a million times now. It's beautiful. It's great. And it actually helps me out. Even after looking at fucking divergences for all these years, there's still some that he'll show over here, and I'll be like, I didn't catch that one myself, but looks right actually. Anyways, moving on to Jackie's programs over here. He has his group psychology. He will meet with you virtually and talk about your trades on a weekly basis. Really valuable, as I've seen a lot of good results coming in from people who have taken that with him. And then of course he also has his video program right here, which is just the video aspect of that. No meetings on a virtual weekly basis, but still get to get the content. So with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest once again. I salute you all, and we'll be on Twitch a little bit later again today as well. So take care, and until next time.